Hello and welcome to episode 1 of the 2024 SBK Royal Ascot mini podcast series. If you've never seen these mini series before, what to expect over the next few days. 15-minute videos every single day featuring myself, Tom Collins, and this man, Ross Millar, where we run through every single race of Royal Ascot this year, provide our insight and hopefully a few winners as well. Ross, Royal Ascot has approached us already. It feels like Cheltenham was just yesterday. How are you feeling?
Yeah, we were just saying before, I think I'm perhaps edging the excitement stakes over you. And I said largely because I just think the last 2 weeks has been pretty boring on the flat fair. And of course, Jess has banned me from watching any jump racing. So I'm just starved of exciting, horse-based action. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And I do think this year there's very few races that are cut and dry, which for me, certainly on the flat, I like to play at a slightly bigger price if I can. That makes it sort of more engaging for me, for sure.
Yeah, lots of highly competitive races with 3 or 4 to 1 the field, and then obviously you've got the handicaps with even bigger prices available, even on the jollies. So it is a tough week, but it's going to be a good and hopefully entertaining week at Ascot. Now, if we were previewing this a week or two ago, you'd have looked at the weather forecast and it would have been rain, rain, rain. Virtually rain was forecast from Wednesday last week up until the start of Royal Ascot, and then rain during Ascot as well. Now, that hasn't transpired. It was a bit grim on Friday. I only live 20 minutes from the course. But every other day has been perfectly fine. It's hot outside right now. I can tell you I'm wearing this jacket and I'm sweating. And it looks like it's going to be warm throughout the week as well. So it looks like, fingers crossed, Ross, we're going to get good to firm ground.
Yeah, let's hope so. I completely understand, and having competed horses, I'm very aware of firm ground and the damage it can do. But I would counteract that. But actually, changeable ground, soft patches and firm patches for me is far worse. So I hope if they have to put water down, I hope they're very conservative with it, because the forecast I looked at does say there's potential for showers, and the last thing we want is a bit of water to go down artificially and then get one of those typical British June showers that turn the ground to soft. It just makes it, for me, unsatisfactory when you're racing on the flat.
Yeah, hopefully we don't get watering. Hopefully they just let the weather take its toll if it's going to. Right now, I think the go and stick reading is around 7.8 on the straight and round course. Obviously, 0.1 either side or something like that. I haven't completely checked, but it's very quick. But hopefully we get nice, good flat racing summer ground for this festival. That's what everyone wants to see. Now, let's get straight into the action. The first race on Tuesday is the Group 1 Queen Anne, run over the mile for older horses. 14 runners are set to line up, with Charin and Factor Cheval at the top of the market, around 3 to 1, 130 respectively. Obviously, no Spiral. She's going elsewhere. Ross, who do you like here?
Not changed from my selection on the preview podcast, TC. I like Maljoum. I get the angle on Factor Cheval. I mean, obviously, I wouldn't be an international racing buff, but I just look back at his form last time out in Maidan. That form hasn't worked out all that well, and it was his one run on quicker ground. He seemed to cope with it. I just wonder whether against perhaps better horses, whether he's going to be able to cope with it. Maljoum, I just think, that run 2 years ago at Royal Ascot still lives long in the memory. If he can get slightly better breaks on a straight track, he should be able to. I think he could be potentially still a horse, for all that he's not a young horse, with some upside still.
Yeah, I think it's around 12 to 1, if my memory serves me correctly. So you're getting a bit of value there with Maljoum. I'm going to be with Factor Cheval. I understand what you say about that race over at Maidan. The fourth measured time did come out and win over in the US, so there's some kind of boost there, albeit it may not have been the best ever Dubai turf. I think he handles the ground. He probably wants it a little bit softer, but I think he'll get away with it. And in my opinion, he's the best horse in the race. On to the Coventry now, first 2-year-old race of the week, run over 6 furlongs. Camille Pizarro is currently the favourite, though it is bit of a dubious market leader with around 9 to 2, 5 to 1 the field. Any strong fancies here?
No, not massively. I think across the 2-year-old races, my opinion would be that the Irish have got the better 2-year-olds. Might not be the case in this one. I don't know as a standout. Coward of the County beat Whistle Jacket on debut, but Whistle Jacket went out very hard and certainly stepped forward a lot for his second run. So for me, that's a slightly tenuous form line, and I think he actually outstayed Whistle Jacket on slow ground. Whether he's going to have the boot, for all that Ascot is a stiff track. I've got 2 that I like at decent prices. Catalyst for Wathnan Racing, Richard Fahey, is the pick of James Doyle. Wathnan have 3, so he could have ridden either of the 3, all of which have some form of chance. But I just loved Catalyst's debut at Hamilton. Relaxed beautifully from the gate. Was actually posted a little bit wide, so didn't have cover, didn't seem to bother him, and then quickened up smartly. Got there very easily on the outside and lengthened away. We spoke on the preview pod, the ability to handle the prelims is going to be important. course, Hamilton is a bit different to Ascot, but he looked to have a nice temperament for his first time at the racecourse. Should step forward. I like him. He's around 16-1 with SBK. And then at a bigger price, Mr. Chaplin for Rafe Beckett, Rosallion. He won at Newbury in a race that I thought shaped like a decent race. I thought there was going to be plenty of winners come out of it. Hasn't transpired that way, but he did win it very nicely. He went through the race very professionally, raced at the head of affairs, lengthened away, was really strong through the line. Pedigree suggests he'll probably stay a furlong further in time. I think that's a strong attribute to have at this track. Perhaps a slightly unfashionable 2-year-old stable, for all that, Rafe Beckett's a very good trainer, might mean there's a little bit of value, and he's 22-1 with SBK. I thought that wasn't a bad price either for a horse that's got winning form.
Yeah, 2 left field selections there, but I like it. I think this is a race where you've got to take a shot on 1 or 2, especially considering all of these horses are extremely unexposed and we don't really know how much improvement they all have in them. I too am going to go for a horse at a double figure price, though a little bit shorter than your two. 10-1 currently with SBK is Yarmo Be There. I thought the move he made in the middle part of the race on his debut at York was really impressive. Now, I know he came up short and Andersight, who reopposes in this race, beat him. But I think if he's ridden a little bit more efficiently with some more pace to chase, and he gets a good toe in this event at Royal Ascot, which I'm sure he will, then we're going to see a better performance, and he's a good each-way play, in my opinion. Right, back to Group 1 action now, and on to the King Charles III Stakes, formerly known as the King's Stand. Not great renewal, in my opinion. I would have put up Moss Tucker each way, but he's not been declared as the rain hasn't come, and he needs soft ground. So I'm going to sit this one out, Ross. Have you got a selection?
I'd be tempted to sit out alongside UTC. Obviously, Jess and I differed on the preview pod about Big Evs. I just wasn't blown away by that return run. I thought he looked a bit relaxed. I would like to see him a bit more revved up. If he is, he's got every chance. But I thought Valiant Force, on the form they've got, 4 lines between them, it's too big. I thought he was an interesting horse, back with Adrian Murray. And then just depending how the first 2 races pan out, we spoke about this on the preview pod, the draw bias, where the quickest part of the track is going to be. If the far side of the track was a little bit quicker, I think Twilight Calls around about 10-1 with SBK from draw 4. He's been 4th and 2nd in it. He was probably an unfortunate 4th last year. Got absolutely mullered coming out of the stalls and basically put paid to his chance. But he finishes strongly. He seems to like coming through tired horses. So if the first 2 races panned out that his draw might look favourable, I might have a little bit on him as well.
Yeah, he's a very strong traveller, Twilight Calls, so he could go close if they get a nice pace to run at. Valiant Force, previously trained by Jorge Delgado, actually, in a little US stint, but comes back. And there's another ex-US runner in here in Crimson Advocate who makes her debut for Jonathan Thady Gosden. I don't like her much, I have to admit. Okay, on to the highlight of the day. That is the St James's Palace at 4:25pm. Arguably the best race of the week, to be honest. You've got 2,000 guineas winner Notable Speech, faces Irish 2,000 guineas winner Rosallion, and Group 1 winning 2-year-old Henry Longfellow. How do you see this one?
I think you're right. I think if this isn't race of the week, we're in for a really exciting week, because this is going to be brilliant. I think maybe Sean Levy will hold on to Rosallion a little bit. The vibes after the Irish Guineas, where he was in some quarters called a fortunate winner that he got out of jail. He seemed to be very insistent that getting the horse to relax was important. Suggests to me that maybe he over-raced at Newmarket. I think he might reverse that Newmarket form, but I'm a big Henry Longfellow fan. I know you are. I thought he was a brilliant 2-year-old. The comeback run was too bad to be true, as you pointed out. Probably wasn't Ryan Moore's best moment on a racecourse ever. And we know that Aidan O'Brien's horses are stepping forward hugely from their first run to their second. Be foolish to give up on him after 1 run. I think he offers a bit of value against the front 2.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything you said there. Not really much more to add. We do talk a little bit more about this race on the full Royal Ascot preview podcast. It's live right now on our YouTube and Spotify. So if you haven't seen that and you want a bit of a longer listen, go and watch that right now. After this podcast anyway. The first handicap of the day is the Ascot Stakes. 1 for the stayers. Jumps trainers top of the market. Willie Mullins has a runner in here. Gordon Elliott has a runner. Technically, Tony Martin has a runner too. Are you going to side with one of theirs, or are you going to look elsewhere?
Well, I don't know what you call him these days. Probably a very clear dual-purpose trainer, Joseph O'Brien. I really like Nusray, son of Golden Horn, who's a sire absolutely love. I'm yet to find a Golden Horn prodigy that isn't a good-looking horse. They're just beautiful animals. Nusray, I was waiting all winter for this horse to get back on some nice ground over hurdles. He got better ground at Punchtown. I still don't think it was to his liking. Ran a really good race when staying on 5th in a 2-mile handicap. I think he's been crying out to go up in trip. He's going to get rattling quick ground here. Good stamina test. I think he's well handicapped compared to his hurdle mark. 25 to 1 seems a big price to me. I'm really quite keen on his chance.
Yeah, I like that. I like bullish Ross Millar on a first day of the Royal Ascot. That's pretty good. Promising anyway. Hopefully he runs well and at least hits the frame. I'm going to go a little bit more unoriginal, let's say, and go for Zanderbad. He's a relatively short price. I think he's currently third favourite. Technically, Tony Martin trains him, albeit Tony's name's not on the race card as he's suspended. This horse just looks super unlucky, in my opinion, in the Chester Cup. Too far back in the race, and when you're around Chester and you're that far back, so difficult to make up the ground and win, albeit he almost did it. In my opinion, he's very well handicapped. But these races are very tough to assess. Willie Mullins' run has barely ever had a start on these shores. Only had one start and that came over jump. So who knows? Who knows? The penultimate race on day one is the Wolferton. Listed race, run over 1 mile, 2 furlongs. The favourite is currently Isra. Now, I don't like Isra at all. I saw him at Sandown earlier in the season. He just seems a very small and uptight horse, and he didn't really perform at Sandown, didn't really perform last time. Okay, he's run fine, he's run up to his level, but he hasn't really taken a big step forward, which is what you want to see. I think you can take him on. Do you agree?
I found this a real muddle, TC. This would be one I would sit out. If someone was offering me a free bet, I'd probably chance the Crisford's Knight. He had some pretty good form last year, just touched off by Chindit. He was getting a bit of weight, but Chindit would be a much better horse than any of these on his best. I think you can forgive one poor run on his return. Crisford's horses have been slow to come to hand, so I thought he was still a horse with a bit of upside, but I will sit this one out and make a cup of tea.
Yeah, you don't have to bet in every race at Royal Ascot, that's for sure. There's loads of action throughout the whole 5-day festival, so it's good to sit out 1 or 2 if you're not super confident. I'll side with the horse at a decent price, and that's Astro King. I think he's currently 14 to 1, though I have seen shorter in places. I need to check with the SBK traders after this podcast, but I think he'll outrun his odds. He usually goes well at Royal Ascot. He's placed twice at this meeting before, and the Kublers will have him ready and spot on for this. Loves fast ground as well, albeit he's now stepping up slightly in class from where we've seen him in the past at Royal Ascot in handicaps. Finally, it's the Copper Horse handicap, run at 6:10, ends Tuesday's card. I think we'd both like to see Bellocchio win this race just because of the connection with Jess Stafford, our usual podcast host, but he's a short enough price, right, in a wide open race. I'm going to be with my mate Mozzie. I know you are too. Tell us why.
Yeah, well, first of all, Bellocchio, Jess was really conflicted whether to mention him or not on the preview pod. Didn't want to jinx him, and as an owner myself, I completely get that. You really want to perform, but you don't want to sort of put too much expectation on him. I spoke to her this morning. She said Willie's really happy with him, flying form, their best chance of a Royal Ascot winner for a long, long time. And he's actually got an Irish St. Ledger entry, such as the work he's showing Willie Mullins. So that's a pretty strong vote. They wouldn't want the ground too quick for him. But yeah, I love my mate Mozzie. I think this is just tailor-made for him. Was really eye-catching when 5th in the Irish Cesaro, which travelled like a really good horse through the race. Weakened, perhaps didn't say the 2 mile, 1 furlong trip. Got hampered under a sort of inexperienced apprentice jockey. Got himself into a bit of bother in the closing stages. Dropped back in trip off a mark here of 96. He's a 149 rated jumps horse. Work on the basis of taking 40 off their jumps rating to get a potential mark they could run to on the flat. That's a pretty broad sort of guesstimate, but I think he's much, much better than this mark in 96. 1 mile 6, quick ground. I think this could be tailor-made for him. I'm really quite excited to see what he can do.
Yeah, I completely agree with all of that. And he's currently 8 to 1 with SBK, which I think is a very fair price. He was available at 10s yesterday. A couple of points has been knocked off, but there's still some value there. Excellent. That's every race covered on day one. All that's left to do is to provide our nap and next best. You go first.
So my nap is Nuzray in the Ascot Stakes, 25 to 1, go hard or go home. I think he's got an outstanding chance of making the frame at the very least. I think he's going to really appreciate this ground. And then my next best, I should say, is in the Copper Horse, and it is my mate Mozzie, as we just mentioned.
Yeah, if we're doing a leaderboard on winning nap and next best or profit loss, and Nuzray goes in on day one at 25, then I'm in trouble. But as you say, 25 to 1 for him and 8 to 1, my mate Mozzie. A couple of nice prices there for Ross's best selections on day one. I'm going slightly shorter prices. My nap is Henry Longfellow in the St James's Palace at 4 to 1. And my next best is Factor Cheval in the Queen Anne at 100 to 30. But this by no means is my strongest day at Royal Ascot. I have a few sort of confident fancies, but as we go through the week, there are a lot better and stronger days for me. Before we go, SBK has a special offer for you. They're offering a 25% winnings boost in the first race, the Queen Anne. So make sure you go and check that out. Max Stakes do apply T's and C's as well. So go and check all the terms and make sure that it's suitable for you. But it's a fantastic offer where you can win a little bit more money about a horse that you probably would bet anyway. Thank you for listening. Hopefully you enjoyed this podcast and got some insight, and hopefully a few winners along the way. If you did, make sure to go and like and subscribe to the channel, and join us again tomorrow, where we cover all of Wednesday's racing at Royal Ascot. Until then, be lucky. Goodbye.